There's been an almighty altercation here between the two managers.
The manager who wears his heart on his sleeve at the best of times.
Here are the top 18 Premier League managers of all time, dating back to the league's start in 1992. Number 18, George Burley. George Burley achieved the remarkable feat of guiding Ipswich Town into the top 5 in the club's first season following promotion, earning a spot in the UEFA Cup and the Premier League Manager of the Season award in 2001. The uncle of ESPN soccer commentator Craig Burley, George was relegated the next season and never returned to the EPL. Number 17, Roy Hodgson. The journeyman Roy Hodgson has coached 16 teams in 8 countries, but is perhaps best known for allowing Clint Dempsey to take Fulham to the Europa League final in 2010. Hodgson has also coached Premier League sides Blackburn, Liverpool, West Brom, and Crystal Palace, and led England to a last-place finish in Group D at the 2014 World Cup. Number 16, Tony Pulis. Tony Pulis guided Stoke City into the Premier League and spent a decade with the club, cementing the Potters' place in the league. Pulis even led Stoke to the Europa League with a runner-up performance in the FA Cup. In 2014, Pulis was named Premier League Manager of the Season for guiding Crystal Palace away from relegation. Number 15, Antonio Conte. Though his time in England was brief, Conte's first Chelsea team in 2017 was a powerhouse, setting what was at the time the record for most wins in a season with 30, 1 year after the Blues finished 10th. Conte was sacked following his 2018 season despite winning the FA Cup, and it having been the first year in which he didn't win a league title as a club manager since he was at Siena in 2011. Number 14, Alan Pardew. Alan Pardew reached 2 FA Cup finals and achieved promotion in the Premier League 3 times as a manager. He is one of 4 coaches to be named Premier League Manager of the Year without winning a league title after helping Newcastle return to European football in 2012. Pardew has also coached at Reading, West Ham, Charlton Athletic, Southampton, Crystal Palace, and West Brom, currently ranking just outside the top 10 in Premier League games coached. Number 13, Roberto Mancini. The Italian Roberto Mancini will always be celebrated for bringing Manchester City its first Premier League title in the most dramatic fashion possible. A last-second winner over QPR, Queen's Park Rangers, in 2012 gave City the title over rival United in the most exciting finish to any Premier League season. Number 12, Manuel Pellegrini. The Chilean became the first manager from outside Europe to win the Premier League title in 2014 with Manchester City, winning 100 games in Manchester with a 60% win rate, 5th in the highest Premier League history when he left the club. Despite also winning 2 league cups, Pellegrini was pushed out to make room for Pep Guardiola. Number 11, Harry Redknapp. Harry Redknapp earns his spot mostly through longevity. Only Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson managed more Premier League matches than Redknapp, who began his coaching career as a player assistant manager with the Seattle Sounders in the 1970s. Redknapp's highest honor came in 2010 when he was named the Premier League Manager of the Season, having helped Tottenham to its first top 4 finish in 20 years. He also coached Bournemouth, West Ham, Portsmouth, Southampton, QPR, and Birmingham City. Number 10, Mauricio Pochettino. Mauricio Pochettino has yet to win a Premier League title, but what he's done with Tottenham early in his coaching career is remarkable nonetheless. After a short stint at Southampton, Pochettino guided Spurs to finishes of 5th, 3rd, 2nd, and 3rd, including wins over the likes of Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. Most importantly, in 2017, he guided Tottenham to a higher finish than Arsenal for the first time in 22 years, doing so with a team far cheaper than any of the other top 5 clubs. Number 9, David Moyes. While many remember him for his failure at Manchester United, David Moyes was a brilliant manager for more than a decade with Everton, winning 218 matches with the Toffees. Moyes guided Everton into European competition for the first time in a decade and an FA Cup final for the first time in a decade.
Neville scores and Everton go through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. And look at the satisfied expression on the manager's face.
Number 8, Carlo Ancelotti. A Champions League winner with AC Milan and Real Madrid in England, Carlo Ancelotti is remembered for providing some semblance of stability for Chelsea following Jose Mourinho's departure in 2007. The 6th manager in 21 months at Chelsea, Ancelotti won a Premier League title in his first season in London, adding an FA Cup and a Community Shield title as well. Ancelotti was fired just before the final match of the 2nd season, in which he led Chelsea to a 2nd place finish because he couldn't get the best out of an expensive Fernando Torres, despite having set a then record with 103 goals scored in the season prior. Number 7, Kenny Dalglish. Having been the player-manager for Liverpool for 6 years, Sir Kenny Dalglish coached Blackburn Rovers from 1991 to 1995. Dalglish took Rovers from the 2nd Division to the Premier League, winning the league title in 1995. Dalglish also had stints with Newcastle United and again with Liverpool, but his championship with Blackburn Rovers puts the club alongside the likes of Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, and Leicester City as the only teams with Premier League titles. Number 6, Claudio Ranieri. The Italian manager won more than 100 games with Chelsea just after the turn of the century, but he's on the list for what he accomplished with the little Leicester City. By leading the Foxes to a Premier League title in 2016, he ended a hegemony of the top 4 clubs in England that had been held for more than 2 decades. Winning the league title with the finances of Leicester City in an era dominated by big clubs with much bigger wallets is the most impressive single-season feat of anyone on this list.
Premier League champions 2016, the amazing Leicester City!
Number 5, Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola was already a legendary coach before he arrived at Manchester City, but he also put together the best Premier League team in history, thanks to no small part to a big wad of cash. The 2017-18 championship citizens set the EPL record for most points scored with 100, wins with 32, goals with 106, and a goal differential of plus 76. He often has the most talented teams, but he definitely gets the most out of them. Number 4, Rafael Benitez. Rafa Benitez never won a Premier League title, and in fact, he is often poor at getting the best from his Liverpool sides in league play, but he is one of the few managers to lead a Premier League team to Champions League success. Benitez guided Liverpool to the 2005 Champions League trophy and to the final in 2007. He's the only manager in history to have ever won the Europa League with Chelsea and Valencia, the UEFA Super Cup with Liverpool, the Champions League with Liverpool, and the Club World Cup with Inter Milan. He's also won the EFL Championship with Newcastle. Number 3, Jose Mourinho. The combative Jose Mourinho has won more Premier League titles than any of the managers mentioned before him on the list, having won it 3 times with Chelsea. Portuguese manager also has an FA Cup crown with the Blues and a Europa League title with Manchester United. If you include his non-Premier League exploits, Mourinho has 8 league titles and 2 Champions League titles with Porto and Inter Milan. Number 2, Arsene Wenger. Aside from perhaps the man ranked number 1 on this list, no manager embodied his club more than Arsene Wenger embodied Arsenal. Wenger changed Arsenal and the English game as one of the first managers to change eating habits of British players and rely on players from outside the UK. Le Professeur won a record 7 FA Cups to go with 3 Premier League titles, including the epic unbeaten season of 2003 to 2004 that is still yet to be matched. Number 1, no surprise here, Sir Alex Ferguson. When Sir Alex Ferguson took over Manchester United, the Red Devils were miles behind Liverpool as the most successful club in England. By the time he retired, there was no doubt which team was the best in the Premier League. Ferguson racked up 13 Premier League titles in 20 seasons in the league, leaving little doubt that he has to be number 1 on this list. He also added 2 Champions Leagues, 5 FA Cups to that, and there's no debate. Sir Alex Ferguson is the best manager in Premier League history.